It is the controversial gun rights rally the whole world may be watching. Possibly thousands of activists marching through the nation's capital with their guns slung across their backs. Organizer Adam Kokesh joins us now on set. We're going to speak with him in just a moment or two. But first, a little background for you. According to the event's Facebook page, participants will march with loaded rifles across the Memorial Bridge, down Independence Avenue, around the Capitol, the Supreme Court, and the White House, and then peacefully return to Virginia across the Memorial Bridge, same way they came in. And our Facebook is bursting with comments, most of them against the planned march. Marco says being allowed to walk around in public with a loaded weapon for any other purpose than that of law enforcement just seems like an open door for trouble. And Lisa Jo Worth says, sounds like a bunch of brainless bullies that have no respect for laws that elected officials created. A.J. McDonald Jr. says, Kokesh is a provocateur and has been for a long time. Advocating armed rebellion, which he has, is a federal offense, yet he gets away with it because he's a provocateur. Well, Mr. Kokesh, is here with us right now. Thank you for coming in, sir.
My pleasure.
Good
Thanks
to
for
have
covering
you.
this.
All right, first of all, what do you want to accomplish here? What's this all about?
Thomas Jefferson said, when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Clearly, we've come to a state in America where people fear the government a lot more than the other way around. We aim to change that equation. We also want to inspire people to do something meaningful with Independence Day, rather than sit on their butts, get fat watching fireworks and patting themselves on the back for what a great country this is, when it's more like that it used to be. But we'd also want to inspire people to assert their self-ownership and that they are free, beautiful, independent human beings, and that there are certain inalienable rights that go along with that.
All right, let me ask you this. Why do you say that people fear the government? Where are you getting that?
Well, you can look at it just from the reaction to this event, and it's really sad, and as you saw from the comments that you shared, people are saying that we're going to break laws. We're going to break regulations, maybe some written codes in D.C., but we're actually going to follow the law. We are going to stop criminals, and I'm talking about D.C. Chief of Police Kathy Lanier, who said that she's going to arrest us, and I understand that that's to be expected, but it's a violation of the Second Amendment to the Constitution that she swore an oath to when she took that position.
Is it your argument that any restriction on gun laws at all is a violation of the Second Amendment, therefore you should not be subject to arrest even if you break the laws in D.C.?
Well, I wish that any regulations or restrictions on an individual's right to defend themselves were accomplished peacefully through the market, through people interacting non-violently, not through government. But when you talk about the government regulation, there may be appropriate restrictions, but clearly the individual right in public to be armed is certainly being infringed upon, and it would be in line with the Second Amendment to assert that right.
All right, let me read MPD's response to what you're saying. They say, we know this is being discussed as an issue of civil disobedience, but it is a crime under both district and federal law to cross state lines carrying a loaded gun. So MPD and other law enforcement agencies in the district will respond as needed. If they want to transport the guns through the district in compliance with the U.S. and district laws, that's allowable.
Well, these criminals have made it clear that they don't understand the law, they don't understand the Constitution, and they don't even understand the definition of civil disobedience. Like, what we are doing is going to deliberately break what we consider to be an unjust law in accordance with the highest law of the land.
You will accept the arrest then. If you're going into civil disobedience, part of that is you accept the consequences of your actions.
Absolutely.
If it's arrest. How many people have signed up for this?
About 3,000 right now, and I'm willing to face 5 years in jail and up to $5,000 fine for the crime that I would be committing there, which is really a non-crime, no victim, no crime. But we're asking now, in response to the chief's address of this, that we are calling for mass civil disobedience throughout the District of Columbia on Independence Day. There are tons of unjust laws, whether you believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression, the freedom to defend yourself. There are lots of regulations that are passed and enforced every day in D.C. that are clear violations of your rights as an individual.
Your take is the government's gotten too big, too many laws, too many restrictions, and we're not as free as we should be. And that's the point you're trying to make?
Well, it's fundamentally immoral to, by force, impose your will on another human being, whether you have a fancy written law to justify it, a shiny badge, or a government gun. It doesn't justify imposing your will on someone else by force. We want to fight back against that. We want to mark the high tide, the high watermark of government. We want to turn the tide by inspiring people to assert their self-ownership. And we are going to stop the criminals in D.C. We are not the criminals. We are the law-abiding, peaceful people who want to stand up for what is righteous and just. They are the ones who have made it clear. Not only do they not understand the law, they have no respect for it whatsoever. If you want to talk about the Obama administration,
we can talk about that for a minute, but I want to say that you're calling the duly elected representatives of the people criminals. Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because they break the law.
Okay, but they make the law because they've been elected by the people to do that, right?
Right. Well, apparently there were laws that were passed before the ones that any elected officers in office today ever wrote, and it's called the Constitution. It's supposed to be the supreme law of the land. I don't think that really gives credibility to government when it can't follow its own silly little rules. But really, it's made it clear that it has no moral justification for what it's doing.
All right, you've got 3,000 people you say are planning to come to this march. We'll see how many show up.
Hold on, to be fair, we've only had the page up for just 4 days now. Just a few days it's been up, and we've already seen an incredibly positive and enthusiastic response. We've said that when we get to 10,000, we're going to commit to specific plans. If we do that by June 1st, we look very well on track to do that.
Are you prepared to work with Metro District Police to make sure this stays peaceful and to deal with the effect of an arrest if it happens?
Absolutely. No, we intend to fully coordinate with all law enforcement agencies in advance. And I hesitate to use the word, but it might be to the point of being choreographed. It's going to be that safe. But to be honest, I feel much safer knowing that I'm going to be surrounded by armed Americans who care about their rights than I would be in a dark alley in any city where guns are illegal.
All right, fair enough. Mr. Kokesh, interesting. Going to be a fascinating summer. We will watch you.
I hope people go to adamversustheman.com to find out more, and please to RSVP on the Facebook page as well.
All right, thanks for joining us.
This is your last warning.
That would have been the end of it. And that would have been justice for Kelly Thomas, who might be alive today. Back it up.